Wilkinson. England do take the lead, and it is Jonny Wilkinson who puts them there.
Well, Jonny, you've had an amazing career in rugby. Where did it all start and how did it all start?
My brother went to start playing when he was 4 years old, so I went to watch him when I was 3, and then I was just chomping at the bit to get in that same team with him. And the earliest sort of photos that I've got probably at home of me that aren't just, you know, your ridiculous kind of nude baby in the bath type thing, more when you're actually doing something on the sideline, passing a ball around. From then on, I sort of started to find there was a passion there where I couldn't put the ball down, so I go and practice on my own. Then it became just more and more of a kind of exploration of just how good could I be.
You watched the first World Cup in '87, you watched the '91 World Cup as a schoolboy. England got to the final then, they lost to Australia in the final. And then, fast forward quite a few years, 2003, you're in the World Cup final, you're playing for England against Australia, final minutes. What does that feel like?
You pinch yourself a little bit. The most beautiful moment was not the celebrations, although they were incredible, and it wasn't the tour around London, lifting the cup. It was actually when Mike Cagan kicked the ball and it was heading over the touchline, but it hadn't. So it was in the air, and I saw the referee go for the whistle in his pocket. And I sort of look back now and I think just pause there, because that's the moment. It's always on the crest of the unknown, knowing that it's all there within you, but you haven't experienced it yet, but you know it's there. And it became really important to me to understand that, because as the ball crossed the line and the whistle went, it was amazing, but it started to edge further and further away from that incredible feeling I felt as the ball was going over. And I realised that the next day it was further away from that feeling, and the next day, and I realised that as much as it was just the most incredible experience, there was an underlying degree of emptiness about it that wasn't there in that moment before the ball crossed the line.
So what do you mean it wasn't the same the next day?
And I realised that the most beautiful moment was always on the precipice of this kind of this potential, but once the potential's realised into something solid in the world,
you're searching for the next thing.
It's not the same, yeah, and you realise that I'd built my life up until that point on this idea that stressing and suffering and sacrificing was going to bring me this bliss, and you realise that all stressing, suffering and sacrificing was doing was creating a habit in me. I'm doing World Cup tours, carrying a cup around the crowd, even though I'm not playing, watching my teammates go out and play, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be the celebrated guy who's arrived. I want to be the guy who's on his way somewhere. So I wanted to get back. I came back playing, got injured badly in my neck, which was waiting to happen, and then suddenly this array of injuries just fell upon me, and then I got deeper and deeper into these funny holes on the basis that at that point I built myself around this idea that I kind of at that point was like, I know who I am, and the search had finished. So there was no potential what's coming next. As far as I knew, I had the world marked out.
So if you told me this when you were playing, I would have really worried about you when you retire, because it seems like the playing is everything.
Yeah.
How did you cope with that?
I got enough of a taste of retirement when I was injured for 4 years. Well, I came back for half a year just for the World Cup 2007, but then the rest of the year afterwards, completely out with a knee injury, which was another, you may never play again. I lived a lot of my rugby career trying to maintain a reputation in other people's eyes, when actually I began it staring up at the mountain and going, just how high can I climb? Where I spent probably a large part of the second part of my career looking down and thinking, Jesus, how far might I fall?
Is it fair to say your mindset now has been influenced by Buddhism?
I started exploring everything from Buddhism to quantum physics to self-investigation, and then bringing it all together in whether it's a sort of more of a yoga type of culture now, and in terms of just the attitude of bringing an inner science. Whereas I'd always looked at the outer, you know, but I couldn't change the fact I was suffering on the inside. And then I saw these guys had the golden key to what was happening on the inside, which then gave you everything on the outside. I suddenly went, this is where you have to go.
You've talked openly about your mental health and about issues you've had. Why is that?
It's my passion. Because of that, because there's people sort of keep saying about this stigma about talking and being weakness and all those things, but I don't get it. To not talk about it, for me, would be like a missed opportunity.
And you set up a mental health foundation. Tell me about that.
We're working in schools, exploring this opportunity to be able not to have to go after everything you want to do in order to be happy.
We've talked about the foundation. What else have you got coming up?
Something that's really interesting to me is physical health. I think when I was playing rugby, it was all about the doing. It was all about, we were speaking about this before, is that it's all about fitness and ambition, and you become a sort of functional tool. And I've realised that I was very, very fit when I was playing. In fact, I prided myself on the fitness tests and those kind of things. But I really wasn't healthy. And my wife was studying nutrition, and she was bringing home these ideas about some of the nutrition stuff she's exploring, and I was exploring this journey of kind of like the inner journey, and we sort of happened upon certain things. We came across fermented food, which was really interesting in terms of that harmonising with the inner workings of the body. We started brewing our own drinks and making our own sourdough bread and all these kind of things, and trying to do that in the nutritional way and working with the body and getting that flowing inner environment, that effortless flowing inner environment, but through actual physical connection as opposed to the more spiritual.
Jonny, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Cheers.